Good evening, morning, afternoon, depending what part of the world you're all in. I'm Pierre Sayac, CEO and founder of Tracker. For those of you who are not familiar with Tracker, I will shed a quick tear, but let you know very briefly what my company does. Tracker is the technology behind some of the most advanced influencer marketing programs for global consumer brands. Our philosophy is to use technology to help our customers make better decisions and as a result, optimize and scale the influencer program. This is the only thing you'll hear from me about Tracker today. I promise we're not here for this. We're here to use our crystal ball and make some predictions for 2024. And now, with no further ado, I will introduce you to my two crystal balls. Ashley Colomb, who's a Global Director of Communication, Performance, and Analytics at Coty, and Marc Duquesnoy, Chief Digital Marketing Officer at L'Oréal Benelux. For those of you who don't know what Benelux means, it's the acronym for Belgium, Netherlands, Luxembourg. Am I right, Marc?
Yes.
And we just discovered this on the prep for this panel. You're co-located in Amsterdam. We didn't know that. One of you is in a local function for Northern Europe, the other one in a global function for Coty. Ashley, maybe you can spend a minute introducing yourself.
Sure, with pleasure. First, want to thank you, Pierre, for having me today. I will do my very best with my crystal ball abilities. But indeed, I'm Ashley Colomb. I am the Director of Global Communications, Performance, and Analytics currently at Coty. I've been at Coty for almost 7 years now, started in our New York office, and indeed in 2020 made the transition over to Europe, where I've been located in Amsterdam for the last 3.5 years. But prior to my time at Coty, my background is traditional PR communications agency side, but always with a focus within the beauty industry.
Awesome. We'll do a separate panel on you relocating to Europe in the middle of COVID for a different day than today.
Yes, very interesting story.
Could you give us your intro in turn?
Yes. So I'm also very pleased to be here in exchange with both of you. So I've been working in L'Oréal since nearly 20 years now. My background is mainly marketing, and I switched to more expertise in digital. And one of my beloved topics has been always influencer and advocacy, not only. And today, yes, after some experience in France, at some point in the Nordics, now I'm based in Amsterdam for the Hub, L'Oréal Hub, and looking forward to discuss this topic with you.
Awesome. And Marc, you also happen to be one of our very first contacts at L'Oréal Global when you had a global remit back in the days. I remember you trying to make me cry quite often, sometimes successfully.
Yeah.
But
good ride.
No, absolutely. Great memories. All right. So with no further ado, why don't we jump straight into the topic, and maybe we'll start with your views on the social media landscape. So a lot happened in the social media landscape last year in 23, from the steady fall of the company formerly known as Twitter to Instagram and TikTok doubling down on shopping features and platforms like Snapchat or Pinterest regaining in popularity. And so I'm curious how you each think about 2024 when it comes to that landscape. What's going to be in, what's going to be out? And maybe Ashley, we can start with you.
Sure, with pleasure. So first, I loved this question because it's very on brand and on theme for social media. I think we all saw this trend on TikTok at the end of last year. So instead of resolutions, we were talking about what's in and what's out. I think overall, this type of question of what's in and what's out, I think anything can be in or out depending on what your strategy is and what you're looking to achieve. So any platform can be, the lead platform necessary depending on who you're trying to reach with what message. But if I were to choose, I think social commerce across social media is something that we're seeing, continue to expand. Some of my work on former brand work was working a lot within the APAC region. We know that this is something that region's doing and has been doing and has perfected for many years, and it's now moving westward. It's looking a little bit different than the way they do it in the APAC region, but it is here, and I think it will only continue to expand.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Good.
Anything that you deem is gonna go out that you're either you have divested in or are just not seeing in the near future?
I think for us, of course, there's specific channels that I think for our business have been deprioritized when it comes to an influencer specific landscape, right? The beauty of storytelling with creators is going to be more natural or seamless with a platform like Instagram and TikTok. And maybe there's been over the years deprioritization of a platform like YouTube or Facebook back in the day with beauty bloggers. But we will have to get to the rest of the session because I don't want to say too much because I think maybe there's still potential with YouTube. I don't know. I don't know that I want to say that anything is absolutely out.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Mark, how about you?
Yes, a couple of points, and I will react also maybe to Ashley's point that I find interesting maybe to discuss also. No, but first of all, social media is really echoes also some media wider trends. For me, first, it's fragmentation, but it's not a small island archipelago. It's really this giant continents moving, but it's still a lot of possibilities. So up to us to strategize it. After to anticipate, I like to think just be in the shoes of the consumers that drives, and people wants to still have it more quick, speed, with a bit more quantity, but also quality. With that, I'm talking about content, obviously. So content is king, and video is queen in this topic. So video remains really and the queen is running, of course. So video remains a big one in social media, and maybe just two last words. It's a lot about driving by entertainment. It used to be connection. It's more entertainment. And there is this rising topic of information. Search we'll discuss about. And information, which is not always truth. By the way, it's a challenge of overall wider topic on social media. But people want a bit of mix of a lot of quantity, speed, but also quality, looking for entertainment and information. And I would like that we'll further react on social commerce. We expected this for many months, years, coming at the speed we anticipated. I think there is a good things to discuss. And YouTube also, we would say in French, sometimes la belle endormie, the one that can wake up. You don't maybe so, but a lot of things happening most probably behind. So I like that maybe we can discuss further social commerce and YouTube at some point.
Super interesting. Thank you. Do you think that there will be a dark horse as a social platform for marketers this year? Any platform that you deem undervalued? And maybe this is the point about YouTube or something else. And specifically, when you're thinking about reaching some of the next generation, whether it's Gen Z or Gen Alpha audiences, what are your thoughts? Ashley?
Sure. So I think for me, just talking about the next generations or, the consumers of tomorrow, today as well, let's be honest. For me, it's just more about authentic storytelling, right? So I think Mark made a really good point about the content, and the content needs to resonate. So I think it's more about authenticity and credible conversations and less about a platform. And I think if the platforms can lean into this idea of, credible voices, authenticity, this generation, they are digitally native. They're not afraid that, they only know life with a phone in their hands, but they're also not incredibly dependent on it. Maybe some of them more than others. So we need to keep them engaged. And I think the way to do it is to speak in the language that they want to hear in a way that they want to be spoken to. So for me, that's really where I think the focus should lie. If a platform or a channel wants to come back and be this, king platform that we should be relying on.
I like very much because again, it's consumer centric, and it drive maybe will pop up the new platform grabbing this authenticity, truthful. So again, the giants are investing so much that there is no room, but who would have guessed TikTok in the past year? So maybe there was one popping up. I have no clue. Maybe two thoughts, questions. One, back to the video. There is a world maybe between the TikTok short and the Netflix. So who at some point can grab this long medium format? Because when I look the younger, they are on both, but we say, they want things again very fast, but the same time they spend ages on the sitcoms on Netflix. Maybe there is a room in between. And the second one, in business, we like to discuss about O plus O, online plus offline. Social media is online, but you refer sometime, we discuss already sometime eventing. Who will grab a bit this O plus O social connection? Well, I have no clue, but I see those two levels. This in medium video length and this O plus O on social. What is it tomorrow? So new business to create.
Interesting. Super interesting. I love, by the way, that neither of you guys started with AI as being your prediction. It's such a buzzword that very few actually enact. I was chatting with the folks at Gartner a few weeks ago, and they coined this term of AI washers. So people that or companies that pretend to do things in AI but actually don't. And I know that both companies are actually quite active in that sector, but I love the fact that you didn't say AI is going to lead the way. Any thoughts though that pertain to machine learning, AI, that you think is going to be a step change, a game changer in this coming year?
No, but I thought about it, but after I double thought that already TikTok, Google, Meta, they invest so much actually on AI to make their algorithm bulletproof and modern. So I think it's there. It's already embedded. It's already growing. So as for AI, today the giants that are running are investing again in beefing it up to make it even more tailor-proof, make the content that resonates. At the end, catch the ice ball, which is the run and the race are in, but they make it through AI. So that's and I'm more interested for the moment to this AI for algorithm than Gen AI, which is the content topic, which could be also the other door to come in, but I have less view on that for the moment.
Yeah, I was going to say through the lens of content or how AI plays with creators. I think we've already seen content on TikTok where there's a trend about how scary some of that content could look. So I think that from that lens, AI could be potentially a trickier subject and something that maybe, I don't want to use the word backlash because it sounds very aggressive, but perhaps it's something that in that space isn't welcome widely. Again, with consumers getting smarter and really being so knowledgeable. I
think that there's an interesting point and counterpoint that I think is very much at play when it comes to AI, and it's the AI and authenticity. And you could make the argument that we can use technology, Gen AI or else, to further authenticity and help us seam through the content to surface the things that are most relevant, most authentic. At the same time, the counterpoint being that it can actually add to the noise and the confusion that everybody feels when it comes to content. One more question on this topic before we move to the next section. Because you're both based in Amsterdam, and because in my personal experience, that local market in Northern Europe, I'd say Netherlands and further north, like Sweden, Norway, are often small enough of a market and advanced enough in technology to be test beds of many things that the rest of us will get to see a year, 2 years, 3 years from now. So what is it that you're, and I'm sorry, I'm blindsiding you with this question, but what is it that you see in your personal experience being there that you think is worthy of our attention for the rest of us?
Maybe, Mark, you're better suited in a local role to answer this question.
I've heard, but to be double confirmed, that even I think where the Netherlands is the pilot market for YouTube in Europe. So it's quite true. And on this topic, as you mentioned, Ashley, I see definitely YouTube accelerating on these shoppable capabilities, also related to influencers. So I saw those short format, short video, actually within the short, with a very nice integrated shopping product. After behind, you need to create a full ecosystem, merchant center, or the Google ecosystem. I will not go into that. But I think there is a strong agenda to go there. As for the other big platform, from the discussion I have local with also my peers in Europe, I don't see extra further, except already the high rhythm path of innovation, especially TikTok. But not sure Northern is at the forefront. So shoppable, I would say, maybe in the YouTube ecosystem for the moment.
Great insight. Anything to add, Ashley?
No, I think Mark's covered it perfectly. Okay. Yeah.
Awesome. So let me share with you my 2024 prediction, and you tell me why I'm onto something or if I'm dead wrong. I think this year is going to be the year where, for the first time in forever, things start getting easier for marketers. And what I mean by this is that for the first time, we start seeing a business model alignment between the social media platforms, primarily through boosting, that have managed to reconcile this with the practice of influencer marketing. And now they figured out a way to make money off influencer marketing, which was a big pitfall of our model before. That aligns them both with where creators are going and where brands are going. And so we see an increased propensity to share data, to try to make the experience of the consumer, of the creator, of the brand smoother from what it was before. So I'm starting to see pieces coming together, while before there were lots of silos that were sort of imposed by us. And also it was just the practice of influencer marketing, affiliation, content marketing, so that we're not coming together. So I think this year, for the first time, we're going to see hints that things start gelling, and where consumers, creators, brands are going to require from the platforms and from providers like us to lean in to that trend, to make your job easier and to make the experience of consumers and creators better. Thoughts, reactions? Is it a pipe dream, or am I onto something?
Listen, if you're right, I will have a whole building of colleagues shouting, cheering, so happy, right? Making our jobs much easier. And I think a very clear example, or the proof would be in the pudding, wouldn't it? If it works that seamlessly. I hope you're right. I would agree with you that I think we're probably more in it's a more formulaic, but not in a bad way. We're getting into a groove, so to say. But then the pessimist side of me then thinks, well, when things get too good and we're in too good of a groove, is this when we tip the scales and consumers, again, they're very smart. They're like, this is too much. I feel like I'm hearing it's just too much, the 360 approach, and I don't know I believe it anymore, because I know that there's part of that 360 plan that's being fed by media dollars or targeting. So I'm cautiously optimistic with you there, Pierre, but I question, then going back to the point about authenticity, and this is what this next gen really wants and resonates with, where that will come in and play.
Interesting. Yes, a bit same. So I like that you put it on the table. I agree that, again, from the consumer point of view, things are getting maybe a bit more seamless, and they will be able to look at content, shop, all the convergence you mentioned. But then I tend to disagree for the moment on the marketing easier life. Actually, it's more a point of a bigger challenge, because you need to be even sharper on the way you go and the way you operate, and put it all together. So actually, it's getting more complex in that sense, but fascinating. Also, not making a drama for sure story. And why this convergence? Yes, because I think all the tech giants see the opportunity of each other and wants to be, again, TikTok a big player in e-com, the e-com one getting maybe social and so forth and so on. And I like sometimes also the one, I take a bit of sidetrack, but the one that remains a bit more unique. I have in mind Pinterest, also to quote some smaller one, on their way, small, step by step, qualitative, not to going on all the goals, all the convergence. So also out of the convergence, the one that remain a bit unique, not copying each other, are also interesting.
Awesome, thank you. For a second, Ashley, I was worried that you're going to be the pessimist one in a panel with two Frenchmen, which you really can't do. We own that stake.
No, I will do my best to have a balanced view here.
So let's move on to influencer partnerships. Our data shows that in 2023, the practice and the spend behind and the performance of influencer marketing, particularly around beauty brands, was primarily driven by paid campaigns. And my question is, do you think that this trend is going to continue in 2024? Or are we going to see a comeback of organic campaigns overpaid this year? What are your thoughts, Ashley?
Sure. So for me, third time I'm saying it now, authenticity. I think organic obviously is going to win on the authenticity page. But paid is still incredibly important. And the two really need to work together in order for there to be a successful model, right? So I think that we'll see perhaps an uptick in organic because of the authenticity factor. But I think you're still going to have, and it's still necessary to have, a very smart and strategic paid strategy because you need that for storytelling, or you need that to drive potential consideration to conversion, right? I think the advocacy driven kind of conversations that come from organic, they're incredibly important, and they can get the consumer then to a place where, of course, they're going to go down the funnel as well. But paid is still absolutely critical. So hopefully we see a bit more of a balance in the year to come.
Do you agree, Mark?
Yeah, I really agree. And again, yeah, the organic one is really the one we try to foster, to nourish. And that's really at the end the true voice of the creator consumer, and it's a graal. So I think it needs to be back, and the value is even more important in this noisy environment. Meanwhile, I often say media is not a taboo. If you do media in a nice way, transparent way, with the authenticity, the ethical also relationship with our creator, it's good also to share what they have to share and what we have to share commonly to our consumer, boosted by media, and it's still there, and I think it will still obviously increase. But then now the challenge, I think the quantity, maybe we are getting there, back to the quality, and after all the more with this organic part, which is mainly about quality. So it's also nice to have it definitely at stake, at number one priority.
I'll step away from my moderator job for just a second to offer an opinion. And back to my point about things getting tighter, I think that you made that point, Ashley, that I wanted to reinforce, that we are already experiencing, and I think it's going to further in 24, the tighter connection between paid and organic. And with more data, more fluid data across platforms, broader scope, you guys and creators will be able to see when and how to lean in through paid and when to step back or just keep something tighter and smaller. So I think we're going to see these connections to not look at paid, it's run by the media group in this other building, and organic run by the brand in that building. I think we're going to need to come together for campaigns to truly see through the full value. So I'm actually quite excited about this.
No, but then I think marketing teams really plan for both at the same time in one strategy.
Yeah.
And I also like to remind, it's also not new. It reminds also the journey we had on search, where you needed to work to win on organic, but then paid made the difference. But then you had a lot of benefit from each other. Social is the same, and even e-commerce. It's not the topic today, but same logic.
I love the analogy, because I actually think that it's spot on for those of us that have been riding that train back in the days on search. You look at the evolution of SEO, SEM over the years, both in terms of how the two come together, but also the players. And at what stage do you have like one dominant player with like a Google and a bunch of more niche players, and how this landscape changed over time? And you look at today with influencer marketing, and you can see trends that are very, very similar. So I love the analogy, Mark. Follow-up question: what type of influencer collaborations do you think we'll see emerge or come back in 2024? Mark, maybe you start on this one.
I missed this one in the prep. No, yeah. No, but I think referring back to the organic need, I think we look more and more to communities. So I think definitely the great beauty speaker, key opinion leader on beauty, and co-working with them is very important. But more and more, of course, we tap into sub-communities, communities that stand for values. And back to what Ashley was saying, at the end, it's about authenticity. In what lies behind authenticity, it's about values, what you want to tell, want to share with stories. And then it goes even beyond beauty. And that's why I guess Ashley is the same. We love to work on beauty market, because beauty has a lot of interaction with culture. It's about everyday's life and society. So that's why more the bridge between culture and our is definitely one that we will see get more and more. Another one maybe is men. I have a question, but maybe it's further. As for beauty, maybe men can have a bigger share of voice creation on the go.
Yeah, I was gonna say for all, right? It's genderless, it's borderless, it's everyone. That's what I love about this conversation, but about these paid, very strategic partners and KOLs and people that have a credible voice, you know, having a very specific place in your strategic influencer plans, but then the voices of the organic conversation, I think that's what I love so much. It's art and science. They work so well together. It's a dance between the two. And I think the same thing with the partnerships, right? So you then take it a step further, and the at the end of the day, you know, it's really about your brand values, what you're trying to communicate, and partnering with a voice or a credible expert or KOL or whoever they might be to help, you know, to lend that additional awareness, but also drive that really incredible storytelling, because that's what's really going to hook the consumer at the end of the day on these social channels. That's what we're all searching for, or we're all looking to watch as a consumer, but then also as marketers, we're trying to get the attention of them. So for me, I think it's everyone having a voice at Coty specifically, you know, co-collaborations, partnerships with creators and those voices is really important to us. And it's going on that journey together. And it's not just, you know, tossing a brief out and saying, hey, can you answer this brief? It's really sitting down together and figuring out what that story is.
I would like to react. You mentioned the expert. But I think it's also, without discussing too much, but it's well known, the B2B2C approach is also something. For instance, we work with a lot of hairdressers. It's well known, and more of our hairdressers have more and more things to share. And we see also that partnering with them is also a trend. This B2B2C, I would say also.
And I love the point that you're both making on going beyond beauty as well in your creator partnerships and thinking more about lifestyle. I met a few weeks back a TikTok creator that focuses on food. And she was telling me about all these partnerships she has across the board, from hospitality to beauty to fashion. And I thought it was fascinating that a cultural element like food could be an anchor in all of these other markets.
Yeah, absolutely. And with Tracker, you can make sure that the audience is the right audience that you're reaching, even if it's a creator that isn't an expert in beauty, for example.
Let me play a little jingle right now. Thank you, Ashley. That's awesome. So maybe one thing that you did not mention, and I'm wondering if it's because this is not going to be a 2024 trend, is in-person events. Do you see this continuing steady, on its way down, or on the way up? I know that after COVID, there was like a big focus on getting back together. And so a lot of creator events, a lot of in-person events. What are your thoughts on 2024?
I think they make sense when it's the right time and it's for the right moment. I think what COVID in that kind of time period showed us is it's maybe not necessary to have this influx of events for every single ancillary launch or, you know, secondary launch. There's other ways to reach, you know, your target and speak to your consumer with really smart partnerships with the right talent or the right influencers with the right content. But of course, events still make sense. I think we see across the beauty industry, events are very much still alive and well and vital. But then I think we've also seen, you know, the potential backlash of them as well. So I think it has to be the right moment and for the right launch or the right communication, really, because it coming back to, you know, what you're trying to communicate through these creators.
I agree. Definitely, it makes sense. It will still grow up depending on the budget and following the budget. I also look at the platform themselves try to do TwitchCon, TikTok being present in Cannes Festival, YouTube Day, YouTubeCon, etc. I think we all see the value of the experience. So yes, definitely. One extra point also, experience is also a good moment to sometimes mutualize brand and try to tell also multi-brand stories, which is maybe sometimes harder on one-to-one, something that we tend to explore too, which is the life of consumer buying and be in favor of multi-brands. So it's also an interesting journey.
The only point I will add on this, and again, I'm going back to the greater fluidity of data that hopefully we're in the process of gaining. What I think is on its way out is the lavish VIP creator events. For a long time, they should have been out by now, if you ask me. And I'm not making a generic point that it's always needs to be out, but rather that most often they happen as a legacy from influencer marketing being owned by PR back in the days. And we do them because that's what we do, rather than we do them because it makes sense to our brand, it yields results. And so what I see too often is some of these events not being driven by data, but being driven by habit. And this behavior should have been out years ago. And now we're able to start putting the spotlight on something that is probably one of the most underperforming sides of influencer marketing. And again, I'm not making a generic point, particularly with you guys that each own like a fair amount of luxury brands. There are exceptions. And when you do this with an intent and a purpose and driven with and by data, then I'm all in. But because that's what we do is not good enough.
No, I think it's a fair challenge. So up to us to put it as also a content factory moment. Exactly. And then maybe looking sometime at the wider ROI, look at fashion show. The ROI of the fashion show, it's a catastrophe, but look at the halo effect somehow.
Exactly. I think it depends on the message, the time period, what you're trying to communicate, how, and what you're expecting the output from it to be. So as Mark says, it can be a content factory. I mean, it can drive enormous results for us, but it has to be for the right reason, right? Because with that, if it's not, you risk that backlash of it just being completely over the top and unnecessary. And I think given the world we live in today, there's a lot of, negative news out there. We don't need to be unnecessarily, putting luxurious experiences out there or wasting money, so to say, for no reason. So it really needs to be done smartly and really strategically, I think.
One last question for this section before we transition to our last section prior to the Q&A. We've had many conversations within our team at Tracker on the terminology to use, creators or influencers, both depending on the situation. There's been an evolution over the years. Is 2024 going to be the year when we retire, quote unquote, the influencer and comes in the creator? What are your thoughts, Ashley?
There's still room for both. For me, they are two different type of partners. They have a different place in the strategy and the plan. Influencers, I'm gonna include in a plan where I need to drive like an immediate consideration. They're the ones that are the experts, so to say, on a specific topic. If I need to drive maybe a specific, ingredient or key benefits, they're going to influence to buy. Some of them, right? Specific influencers. Hence the name, where it comes from. But then, of course, creators for us is still incredibly important. I think we talked a lot about content co-creation. And for me, that's coming, in partnership with those creators. They're really the ones that are building beautiful stories and extensions of our brands. And it's maybe a little different. So I see their output being very different. And I don't think, for me, that we see the word influencer being retired, but maybe I'm wrong.
I agree with Ashley, as internally can help to strategize a bit your pyramid. After Pierre-Loïc, I would advise you to position yourself more a creator platform than an influencer platform to be future-proof. And I think my guess is that, creator looks a bit more future-proof. It's really pushed by TikTok. And if you ask the consumer, they say, of course, we don't follow influencer, but we're happy to look at good content. So more creator platform.
Thank you for the guidance. I'm leaving this panel with a new strategy point. Thank you. Now, talking about this, let's discuss the creator economy in context of influencer marketing and social commerce. There's been a lot of debate about influencer marketing's place in the marketing funnel. Does it best serve awareness, engagement, or sales? And in some of our research at Tracker, we discovered that consumers think of social platforms as a good way to conduct product research, which is yet another potential use case for brands. So for this year, what do you predict the biggest impact of influencer marketing is going to be for brands? Mark, do you want to get us started?
No, I love you refer to this never-ending debate and timeless debate, short-term ROI, long-term ROI. To be honest, so yes, we try to achieve both, definitely. And I think there is room for both. After, to be transparent and share insight, I think in the past months, years, it was really more on the short-term ROI. But then I refer back to the beginning of our discussion, back to the quality, the organic, the community. This is where we're shifting to work more for this long-term ROI. So sorry to tell you a bit Normandy kind of answer, yes and no. But yeah, I think it will be more both. But I see, again, we are a lot on the maybe short and more longer, which come with quality and all what we mentioned, communities and so on.
Yeah, I think long-term is, I don't want to future-proof, but this is the best approach, right? It's something that can stand the test of time. You're building a relationship with a community of advocates for people, for your brands. And it's not something that can be produced in a short term or a short amount of time. And I think the long term is going to, give better results at the end of the day and give you more options, frankly. Once you have those established relationships, I think, opens up for lots of other opportunities.
Yeah, makes sense. The irony of the question and the practice is that in reality, I think it's both, but it's not both at the same time. So I can tell you that we see so many customers come knock on our door and always starting with a short term because they want to prove the practice to their peers, their constituency, their management internally, and it rarely works. Unfortunately, the short-term benefits get achieved through a long-term strategy, almost always. And when you think about it, it makes complete sense, right? Because until you get your creator relations right, so you pick the right creators and you engage them in the right way, the authentic voice is not going to resonate with the public. And only then can you start thinking about sales, activation, affiliation, and all the other benefits once you've built that core. And so to those on the audience today, I will say, always starts with long-term, even if your goals are short-term, because that's the only way to get to that point. Next question. What is a metric or a strategy that you would like to see the industry either immediately retire or enthusiastically embrace, or both for that matter? Like you can give me one of each if you care. Ashley.
So for me, this question, I immediately just thought of just the definition of beauty. We work in beauty. Cody's a beauty company. My career I've always worked in beauty. So it's not a KPI or a term or anything like this, but I think it's just the definition of beauty, right? So there's these ideal standards still of what beauty stands for. There's a definition in the dictionary of what it stands for. And we did a campaign at Cody on the corporate side of things called Undefined Beauty. And I think I just found it super inspiring as, of course, an employee of the company, but I think just as a beauty consumer in general, right? Why do we have these very limited definitions of what beauty is? It's beyond that. It should be more inclusive, and it really should change with time. So for me, it is not exactly answering your question directly exactly, but this is what I feel most passionately about. This, at the end of the day, we're in the business of beauty and speaking to all people all over the world, through our brands and our products. And to me, that's something that I would love for the industry to embrace. And I think this is something that the Gen Z and Gen Alpha are already, they're there. So, as an industry, we've got to meet them there as well.
I agree. And I also celebrate when our competitor also embark on this kind of beyond beauty journey. And I think you talk more with your heart, and then the reason. But I like what you said, because also, if I draw a comparison with media, hundreds of KPIs, media is a science, it's quite mechanic, you manage algorithm. Influencer marketing creator is a human science, and then it's coming the human touch. How do you really measure that? What is really the impact? Back to the short term, long term. So yes, we need to monitor with some data and KPIs, because we are spending money, there is budget, we need to prove it and frame it. But there is this extra soul value, human touch, that we don't measure enough, that maybe we coming back maybe to the brand image measurement once a year when we have a big study on that. But that on influencer marketing, it's in the air, but it's not totally encapsulated in a very strict KPI, and cannot be for, let's say, God's sakes. So I like also the sidetrack of answer of Ashley on that can only do.
Thank you. Yes.
So again, Pierre-Loïc, in your platform, what is your hard KPI, human touch KPI for the future?
So, as you know, we've concocted an aggregate scoring in the platform that we refer to as brand vitality, and within that score, the one piece that we're working hard on in this coming year is to nail the notion of trust. So the VIT stands for visibility, impact, and trust. And the trust so far in these three metrics is probably the one that has been sort of the least both accounted for and tight. And I'm excited about some of the work that we're doing on this. It's going to take a while for us to get something out. But in terms of human touch, like if you think authenticity, trust, like there's just a lot there to be done. As you know, and I'm a broken record on this, even though we still have a lot of our clients that use EMV as a core metric, if I had one desire for 2024 is for that to be on the out. I don't think it will be, because it's such an anchor point for some of them. But the notion of measuring your success through an equivalency in paid media has always felt wrong to me, though I acknowledge that it is a KPI that many of our clients are using. But I really don't think that it should be a leading KPI. Just to make sure that we keep enough time for Q&A, I'm going to skip to my last question to each of you, and maybe starting with Mark on this one. What is your most provocative prediction for 2024?
Yes, I was reflecting, and I don't know if it's clear enough, but the Meta start to make it, let's say, you need to have some paying connection, so subscription. So more and more on social media, yes, we ask us to pay to have access, but there is also a growing attention of the right for deconnection, and even some moment for deconnection. So where people are even eager to pay to be deconnected more than to pay to be connected. I think everybody refuse. So this totally other side. I don't know what do we do with that, but it's also a counter wave to social media. How do we help accompany our consumer to the right of deconnection?
This is a very difficult question. It's not an easy one. And I don't want to be an AI naysayer at all, but I think it just goes back to the point I made at the top. It really, I think, maybe from a content perspective, influencer content creation, perhaps it won't go as well as we think it will in the future. Maybe. We'll see.
I think that's a very fair point, and let me react to both of your. I love them, by the way. Both of your provocative predictions say going against AI and going against spending more time online. It's awesome. So let me react to both. And Mark, I'm sure you've seen this. There was a study by, I think it was the University of Chicago, if I'm not mistaken, where they did a survey within their students, and I'll share it with this group and the audience afterwards. They did a study on, I think, Instagram and TikTok to figure out how much people would pay to stay connected or get disconnected. And what they found, which was fascinating, was that when asked individually, people would pay to keep access to their platforms because of FOMO, or the fear of missing out from their friends on the network. but equally, they would pay to get disconnected if everybody did. So there is a desire that needs to be acknowledged among consumers to not be completely absorbed in the platforms online, in the online life. And I think for brands, for creators, for platforms, it's important to acknowledge, and how do we strike a different balance to make sure that we recognize and make room for people's life balance and desires and overall well-being.
Yes.
And Ashley, on your point, I personally am 100% convinced that you're right, for a very simple reason. As a species and within the economy forever, what follows a hype is a sugar low. So for certain, after everything that's been going on in 2023 on Gen AI, there's going to be a backlash. But it doesn't mean that it's over. What it means is that we have to go through a high and a low to find our balance. This
Absolutely.
is the folks at Gartner call this the hype cycle. And right now we're at the top of the hype cycle for Gen AI. So there's no question in my mind that we're going to experience a backlash. And again, it means nothing as for the future of AI or Gen AI. All right. So we're within the last 10 minutes. And with that, let me figure out our questions. All right. First question from Claire. What are your thoughts around boosting? Do you think it will continue as a good option to turbocharge content, or do you think this is something that will come with its own host of challenges? Who wants to take this one?
I'm happy to. Boosting is definitely, I think, a very smart part of the strategy, a full influencer strategy. It's essential, I think, for getting the right authentic messages out there to your consumer. I think if done strategically, you can pull the consumer down the funnel with the right, really good, smart boosting. And I think it then goes back to, I'm going to say it again, authenticity and authentic content. And that then going back to the relationship you have with the creators. I also think from an advocate's point of view, with advocacy, driving conversations, maybe they're not traditional creators, and boosting that content also has its own position in the larger strategy as well. So pro boosting, keep boosting. I think it's not something that's going to go away at all.
Yeah, agree. If I may, I agree, still part of the winning strategy, but we start to hear some early signal on some profile that are also annoyed to be too much over boosted, over views. And back to the point of diversity of our partner, looking outside of sometimes beauty and so forth and so on. But all of that is like boosting is like sugar for you. It's good, but at some point, don't go for over quantities.
I will offer my own prediction on this one. I have a strong opinion. I don't think that boosting has been optimized yet at all. I think there's way more stupid boosting than smart boosting currently, but things are about to get a hell of a lot better, again, with more data and more ability to do so. And my prediction is that boosting is going to smother digital ads in its sleep this year. I think that there's going to be a lot more investment towards boosting the minute brands and creators start seeing what works and what doesn't and lean into the things that work. It requires all of us to be way smarter when we do it, but that's my prediction.
That's why ends back to the KPI topic, not only the views, but also the sentiment and the engagement.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep, for certain. What are your predictions for affiliation programs this year?
I've been wrong for the past 10 years on this, so.
So tell us and we'll go the other direction.
Each time I saw it coming and it never really came. So yeah, it will come this year. It will be big in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
Can I stay with this for a second, Mark? Why do you think? What do you think you've been wrong, and what has been standing in the way of your conviction on this?
I don't know. It's a bit referring to the wider social commerce topic. Yes, I think Ashley is right. It's coming, but not that much. I think maybe the consumer is not yet looking for this, the trust that the consumer and the advice is looking for They still want to be free on the moment you want to buy and the way you want to shop. It's a bit like also, I draw another parallel, ROPO, research online, purchase offline. I think, even in my personal life, you look for content discovery, but at the end, your shopping moment is a bit there. It will come maybe with the tech, seamless experience, etc. And the second point is for companies. It's quite complicated to organize micropayments, contracting, the flows, etc. It's getting even more complex than only the organic relationship, the paid relationship, and now the affiliate relationship. It's quite of a challenge to organize that.
Yeah, I think I agree with Mark. I think that there's some creators out there that they've built their communities on this idea of affiliate programs or links, right? Like that's what they're essentially known for. Perhaps that's a lane where they'll stay, but in terms of it becoming bigger or growing, I don't know that I would see that happening.
All right, let's see if we get another question. Maybe you have time to squeeze in a couple more from Susie. There's so many new platforms arising, Flip, Lemonade. What other platforms do you feel enter the game this year, in the coming years, competitors to Meta and TikTok for influencers and partnerships?
I know I signed up to be a crystal ball for this, but I don't know that I could answer this question. Who's to say, right? Who knows? With TikTok, I think with TikTok plus the pandemic, that kind of blew everyone off of their chairs. So who knows what it could be and what it will be. But I think we'll go back to authenticity. It's really going to be whichever one of those channels is going to deliver on authenticity and, supporting creators or influencers that are generating credible content and entertaining content at the end of the day.
Makes sense. And the great news for brands, by the way, is that because platforms need to have a groundswell of critical mass in order to perform and for the business model to apply, being too early as a brand is not necessary. Being early as a consumer is important for you to gain insights. So get your teams to try out new platforms. But I would recommend against brands investing too early in platforms. Another question, this one for you, Mark. The influencer marketing space is getting so crowded. Creators now have more choices, more ways to make money, more brands to work with. Do you have any prediction on what brands should do in order to stand out?
Back to this authenticity and long-term relationship, I think how to build loyalty. And I like also more and more I hear about IRM, influencer relationship management. All the CRM way of thinking applying to influencer is very interesting. So that's one of the elements, to be short.
Awesome. I think we have one more minute, Ashley, if you have a thought on this to complement Mark's.
Yeah, I mean, I think you want to create first a genuine relationship between your brand and the creator, right? That starts in the identification process. You're identifying the right voices, the right partners. So that's where the spark should initially happen, right? And then you move into IRM, as Mark mentioned, and going then back to, experiential and relationships and experiences. Yeah, it's really the fundamentals here. It's you just need to I think creators, influencers, they're people. They want to be spoken to. They want to have a relationship with the brand and not partner with a brand, that's just a brand behind a screen, but they want to actually know the people behind the brand and have some skin in the game with them to be heard by them. And that is just people 101. I'm a PR person at the start of my career, and that was the bread and butter of our business, right? It's just relationship building to generate really great editorial content. This is just the new world of that. And it's just people to people. Relationships. Yeah.
Ashley, Mark, it's been a pleasure. Just that 12 months from now, we're going to bring you back and look at our predictions and see how we fared up. All right.
Can't wait.
We make it in San Francisco.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Look behind me. We should absolutely come to my side of the world in this season, no question. Thank you so much. Thanks for everybody who attended. Loved your questions and contributions, and feel free to reach out to us outside of this if you want anything else. And on that, I'm signing off. Cheers, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.